The Victorian era, a period stretching from 1837 to 1901 under Queen Victoria's reign, is often remembered for its ornate architecture, strict social codes, and rigid gender roles. Among the grand facades of Victorian houses, behind the intricate moldings and polished woodwork, lay secrets, hidden spaces that were rarely discussed but tell a story of escape, privacy, and rebellion. These secret rooms were not simply architectural curiosities. They were deeply intertwined with the lives of women who found themselves confined by the expectations of society. In a time when women were largely restricted to domestic roles, their autonomy circumscribed by strict etiquette and the male-dominated public sphere, these hidden spaces became sanctuaries, offering a rare opportunity to experience freedom, even if only temporarily. Victorian society placed immense pressure on women to conform to ideals of purity, domesticity, and submission. A woman's worth was often measured by her ability to maintain a spotless home, host social gatherings, and bear children, all while exhibiting grace and restraint. Within this context, women's movements were tightly controlled. The streets, clubs, and educational institutions were overwhelmingly male, and travel alone was often frowned upon. Even within their own homes, women could find themselves under constant scrutiny from family members or servants. Secret rooms, then, served as a small yet significant form of resistance, a private refuge where women could retreat from the watchful eyes of society and carve out a space for self-expression, thought, or rest. These hidden rooms took many forms, each reflecting both the ingenuity of the builders and the desires of the occupants. Some were simple concealed alcoves behind bookcases or sliding panels, designed to look like part of the wall or cabinetry. Others were entire chambers accessible only through hidden staircases or disguised doors, often requiring knowledge of a secret latch or mechanism. The ingenuity in these designs speaks to the Victorian fascination with craftsmanship and complexity, but also to the need for privacy in an era when female autonomy was so limited. In urban settings, where homes were densely packed and neighbors were quick to gossip, these secret rooms offered a private oasis, away from the eyes and ears of the world. Women used these spaces in a variety of ways. Some were dedicated to intellectual pursuit, reading, writing, sketching, or corresponding with friends, activities that, while common today, could be considered transgressive when done unsupervised. Others were spaces of emotional refuge, allowing women to express feelings they could not safely reveal in public or even within their families. Letters and diaries discovered in Victorian houses often reveal a pattern. A woman would retreat to a hidden room to record her thoughts or compose stories, fully aware that the room itself protected her from judgment. The room was not just physical shelter, but also a symbolic one, representing a fleeting autonomy in a world that sought to confine her at every turn. In some cases, secret rooms were used for more practical forms of escape. Women who faced abusive or controlling husbands could hide in these spaces during moments of crisis. The concept of hiding in one's own home may seem contradictory today, but in Victorian times, homes were arenas of power, and the ability to remove oneself from immediate danger, even briefly, could be life-saving. Additionally, these rooms provided a space for creative pursuits that were otherwise discouraged. Many women of the era had artistic ambitions, painting, writing, sewing intricate designs, but social conventions required that such endeavors be modest, private, and unrecognized. Hidden rooms allowed for a safe environment where women could practice, learn, and grow without fear of ridicule or interference. Some of the most fascinating examples of secret rooms were found in wealthy households, where elaborate architecture and domestic staff enabled more sophisticated concealment. In these homes, women could have entire wings devoted to private life, complete with hidden libraries, private dressing rooms, and soundproofed chambers. These spaces were often connected to service areas or concealed corridors, enabling women to move unnoticed or to retreat completely from the main household. The presence of servants was both a boon and a potential complication. While they could facilitate secrecy, the constant presence of staff meant that any true privacy required careful planning and the use of locks or hidden doors. It is also worth noting the psychological impact of these secret spaces. The Victorian period was marked by strict moral codes, but also by an interest in personal development, spirituality, and the inner life. Women often felt the tension between public duty and private desire, and secret rooms provided a means of reconciling these pressures. A woman could read forbidden literature, practice music, or meditate in a space that allowed her imagination and intellect to flourish. In this sense, hidden rooms were not just physical retreats, but also emotional and cognitive sanctuaries. They offered a rare chance to step outside the constraints imposed by society and explore personal identity in relative safety. While some secret rooms were planned and constructed from the outset, others emerged organically as women adapted their environment to suit their needs. Furniture could be repurposed, false panels installed, or attic spaces converted into private chambers. These improvised solutions reflect the resourcefulness of women determined to create a private domain, even in the absence of architectural intention. In rural homes, barns, cellars, and attics often served similar functions, providing cover and solitude away from the formal rooms of the household. The creativity involved in these transformations highlights the importance of privacy and autonomy in an era when both were limited for women. Not all hidden spaces were exclusively for women's use, but it was common for women to claim them as sanctuaries. The social expectation that women remain ever obliging and visible meant that a hidden room could become a sacred space of rebellion. For young women, particularly those in boarding houses or extended family homes, the ability to withdraw into a concealed room offered freedom to develop personality, intellect, and emotional resilience. It was a subtle but meaningful form of resistance, a way to assert individuality without attracting social condemnation. Some historians suggest that these secret rooms also played a role in women's broader struggle for agency during the Victorian era. While suffrage movements and legal reforms addressed public rights, the private sphere remained a critical domain in which women negotiated power. The existence of hidden spaces speaks to a desire for control over one's environment, a quiet assertion of independence, and a refusal to be entirely subsumed by societal expectations. It is a reminder that acts of defiance do not always need to be public or confrontational. Sometimes, they can take the form of carving out a small, personal corner of the world in which one is free. Accounts from the period describe women finding profound comfort in these hidden spaces. Diaries and letters often detail the feeling of safety and solace. The way a secret room could transform the mundane rhythms of daily life into moments of introspection and creativity. For writers and artists, it was a space to develop skills and ideas without interference. For others, it was simply a place to rest, reflect, and regain composure. The secrecy itself added a layer of thrill, reinforcing the contrast between the restrictive outer world and the liberated inner sanctuary. The architecture of these rooms also reflects broader Victorian preoccupations with secrecy, mystery, and the interplay between appearance and reality. Just as Gothic novels of the time reveled in hidden passages, secret doors, and mysterious chambers, the physical spaces of Victorian houses mirrored these literary fascinations. There was an aesthetic pleasure in concealment and discovery, an intellectual delight in the ingenuity of hidden mechanisms, and a psychological satisfaction in having a space that was truly one's own. For women, the interplay of architecture and autonomy provided both practical refuge and symbolic affirmation of personal identity. While many of these secret rooms had been lost over time, due to renovations, demolition, or neglect, surviving examples continue to captivate historians and enthusiasts alike. Some houses have maintained their hidden chambers, complete with original furniture, paneling, and concealed doors, offering tangible glimpses into a past where privacy was rare and treasured. Museum exhibitions and historical tours sometimes highlight these spaces, inviting visitors to imagine the private lives of women who occupied them and the ways in which architecture was employed to negotiate societal constraints. The story of secret rooms in Victorian houses ultimately reflects a broader human desire, the need for autonomy, privacy, and self-expression, particularly when external circumstances limit freedom. In an era when women's lives were tightly circumscribed, these hidden spaces provided opportunities for reflection, creativity, and even resistance. They revealed the ingenuity, resilience, and determination of women who refused to be entirely defined by social expectations, instead claiming even, if only temporarily, space that was uniquely their own. Through these rooms, we glimpsed the private struggles and triumphs of women who sought refuge in secrecy, crafting hidden sanctuaries that allowed them to live, think, and dream on their own terms. These secret rooms also serve as a reminder of the interplay between physical space and social structure. The architecture of the Victorian home was not merely decorative, it was deeply entwined with the moral and social codes of the time. The presence of hidden chambers illustrates how individuals could subtly manipulate their environment to carve out zones of personal freedom. In doing so, women demonstrated remarkable adaptability and courage, asserting agency in ways that were simultaneously private and profound. Even in contemporary times, these hidden spaces continue to inspire curiosity and admiration. They are emblematic of a period in which women, though restricted by convention, found creative ways to claim independence and preserve their inner lives. The allure of these rooms lies not only in their physical concealment, but in the symbolic message they carry, that the human spirit seeks freedom and privacy, and that, even in the most controlled environments, individuals will find ways to create spaces of their own. Victorian secret rooms, once silent witnesses to the private lives of women, now speak across time, telling stories of resilience, creativity, and the quiet power of solitude. By examining these spaces, historians and enthusiasts gain insight into the complex dynamics of gender, power, and domestic life in the Victorian era. The rooms reveal both the limitations imposed upon women and the strategies they employed to navigate them. They highlight the subtle forms of resistance available in a society that restricted women's public roles, showing that autonomy could be asserted in even the most constrained circumstances. In essence, the secret rooms of Victorian houses are monuments to the ingenuity and inner strength of women who, through architecture and imagination, carved out a realm of freedom in a world determined to confine them. In the end, the fascination with these hidden chambers lies in the intersection of history, architecture, and human experience. They are more than just concealed spaces. They are testament to the creativity, determination, and resilience of women who refuse to be entirely defined by society. By seeking refuge in secrecy, they preserved a measure of independence and cultivated inner lives that might otherwise have been stifled. These rooms remind us that privacy is not merely a luxury but a vital aspect of personal freedom, and that the quiet acts of carving out space for oneself can have profound significance, echoing across generations long after the doors have been closed.